Namaste, everyone. And today I came to discuss a topic actually that number of women have asked, especially on the twin flame journey. But it's not just about the twin flame journey. Sometimes it's also about other forms of connections. So, being a past life regression therapist, I've seen multiple forms of connections that people have, and mostly they're either karmic connections or they are, soulmate connections, karmic soulmates, and even twin flames. So, the basic question today is have you ever wondered why you met him? Okay. So, why did the universe let you cross paths with someone who was like never meant to stay? Or, why did you fall so deeply for someone who could never love you back in the same way? That's one of the major questions that women ask. Like, the way I love him, he never loved me back. Maybe he was fascinated about me, but he didn't love me back. And then there are many people who are going to teach you, and I'm sure there are coaches who are working, love coaches and love gurus and people like that who are working like, you need to work, go deep down and change the way you look at men, change the way you react to men, and what is a high value woman and things like that. But I do not really like the artificiality of becoming a quote unquote high value woman. I think all of us are high values, and um, why should you become artificial to be able to attract someone? So that is one reason, from the woman's side, from the spiritual aspects that I really want to talk about today. Okay. So the first thing that I would like to begin with today is thinking of love as a divine assignment. Okay. How is love a divine assignment? Let me get you to understand that you didn't meet him or whoever this person was. You didn't meet him by accident. Okay, so nothing is happening by accident. Let's just get that clear. There's nothing like coincidence. Everything was already decided. I wouldn't say that everything that's happening, but there are choices in front of us. Just like, you turn on the GPS, you are going somewhere, you take one wrong turn. Maybe the path becomes longer. You take a short turn and maybe you reach there sooner or something of that sort. You may have learned certain lessons. You may not have learned certain lessons because of which the same patterns are repeating. So you didn't meet him by any accident. You met him because your soul asked for growth. Because, somewhere deep within, you wanted to understand the depths of love, not just its sweetness, or how the matrix wants to progress that, in the kind of romance that it wants to, talk about and, think of and, only focus on the romantic aspects of something, of a relationship. But there are the highs and there are also the lows. Something that goes up will also come down. So the universe doesn't send people to comfort you always, it sends them to transform you. Every connection, every person we are meeting comes into our life not by accident, but because there was a certain soul contract, okay? However small or big it may be, but that person, like that soul, came into our lives to be able to teach us something. Sometimes there are soulmates who come for a small time to give you that comfort. However, they are also there to teach you that, you should not give up hope completely. You met him not to, hold his hand, but to find your own strength. Number of times, unfortunately, this is the truth. And why do I say unfortunately? Because I use the word unfortunately because in the worldly sense, we've been conditioned since our childhood to think that, one fine day, we'll define our careers. Then another fine day, we'll find the man, who's going to make us feel like a princess or a queen. And then we meet someone who makes us just feel the opposite. And then we wonder, oh my God, I loved him from my heart. Why didn't he love me back? So there are many things at play. Let's first focus on the fact that, love is also like a divine assignment. So maybe he's not there to share a home with you, but maybe he is there to awaken your heart. Number of, divine feminines say one thing that, the ones who actually choose to grow and the ones who don't choose to complain. So women who have been on this growth part, the divine feminines, because I mostly am mentoring women, so I know more about women. They say things like, um, now I know how to, react to people, or Learned a lot of self-love and self-respect after I met him. So it's also like a divine duty of the divine masculine to kind of insult you and keep rejecting you till the time you actually learn the lesson. Okay. And if he is actually a twin flame, your divine masculine, eventually he's going to regret all that. And if he was not your twin flame, he was not your soulmate, karmic soulmate, he will not have these, you know, realizations. And in either way, it is good, if you look at it like that. So if he was your twin flame, then he will have that realization. If you take the, if you choose the path of growth and you move ahead, okay? Because for how long are you going to be, like chatting to him or trying to connect with him and things like that? Eventually, you will realize that, oh, I'm just putting myself under some kind of insult. And so, if he's a twin flame, he will come back. There is no chance that he cannot come back if you choose growth. But if he's not your twin flame, good that he goes, right? So think of it like this, like, love is a divine assignment. When you took this assignment, the other soul came to teach you what are the right things to expect, what are the wrong things to expect. Where are you faltering in the first concept of love, that is self-love? Very important. The twin flame actually teaches you that you don't love yourself so much. Whatever problems you have with yourself, you project them on the twin flame. Like, let's say you don't respect yourself enough. The twin flame will make you think that he doesn't, respect you enough. He may not do something like that, but your emotions regarding him will be, oh, he doesn't respect me, kind of a thing. So, I would also want you to now think of the mother. Okay. So it's not just a divine assignment in the sense that we were learning a few things. It's also an assignment because, let's just understand that if you compare being in love with someone and being loved by someone, there's a huge difference, unless it's like a mutual love. But when you love someone, there is so much of intensity within you versus if someone else loves you. Like, you just focus on for 5 seconds and think about all those people. Like, if I do, and I think about people who really told me that they, love me like that and in a very intense manner, they'll always be committed. I didn't feel a thing. Okay. Maybe it sounds very insensitive, but there were no emotions attached. There were no emotions involved in any form when I was not in love. But when I am in love, or I have been in love, I have felt that emotion every now and then. So, do you see that it's an assignment? You love, and then you learn to love yourself, and then you learn to love that person unconditionally. And then you learn something like, that whether a person comes or goes, life doesn't stop. So, one of the reasons why this person came to your life was to teach you that love is also to be learned. Okay. If you love someone with TNC attached, terms and conditions attached, you didn't ever love that person. Unfortunately, in the world we live in, it's always a give and take. How do you get married to someone? I've like, this is something that it's not after spiritual awakening or something. I started realizing as a young girl of 11 or 12, I used to always think that people are going to marriages, their cousin's marriage or someone's marriage, then they find another person who's around their age and of the same community, and they so-called fall in love with that person. Fall in love with that person was actually like just flirtatious endeavors, like, your attempts to flirt with the other person and get into a relationship. But real love doesn't look like anything of that sort. Real love is something that doesn't require, to be in that emotion. It doesn't require any, endeavors. You can't help it. Yes, relationship requires endeavors. Relationship and, like keeping loving that person, that requires endeavors. So, apart from the assignment bit, let me give you the analogy of the mother. Okay, and with again a disclaimer. So ideally, why do we say that mothers are divine? And I'm the last person who would say that mothers are divine. I am not divine for my kids. But despite the fact that I'm not divine, I still managed to do so many things I wouldn't have done otherwise. The kind of patience that I've developed over the period of time and the kind of nurturing I've done to them, the first thing that comes to my mind before making any decision is, will this be fine? Will this be okay for my kids or not? A lot of single mothers, a lot of divorced women, they do not remarry That's not because their idea of romance has gone, or the idea of, feeling nurtured and feeling loved has gone. What has happened with them is that now they do not trust a lot of men, especially with becoming their children's father. So the mother analogy will be able to teach you that there is something like no terms and conditions attached when you really love. So maybe this person came to your life to let you know that when you really love, then even when the person is not around you, you still love that person. And so when you think of a mother, she carries a child for 9 months, reshaping her body, her mind, her entire world. My God, everything changes. Anyone who has been a mother, or anyone who has even just seen the mother, you know that, she must have been a girl too. She must have had her own dreams too. But what does she do now? Now her dreams are completely shaped by the fact, will it be fine for my sons or my kids or whoever? Like, the daughters. She doesn't sleep. She forgets herself. She gives endlessly, but what does she receive in return? So the entire idea why we call divinity in mother, and mother should not expect things back. That's true. I think expectations in love only drags you to pain. But I remember when my first child was born, for the first 1.5 months, I literally thought that I was going mad. I was psychologically unfit because of the postpartum depression. The whole night, my son would, be awake. In the morning, when he would go off to sleep, I had a lot of work to do because I had to, see to it that the clothes were washed and whether the right kind of food was being prepared or not. Too much of work. So I literally, for I think 41 to 42 days until I went to my mother's house, I had slept for 15 minutes, 20 minutes for 41 days straight, and literally on the verge of being mad. But sometimes, sometimes nothing is tangible, and yet the child is not a loss. No mother, you'll not find any mother saying, I hate him. I'm sure, unless there's some psychological issue. The child is the opportunity for greatness. I look at it like that because when I look at myself as a transformed individual, I would have not been capable of writing books or, speaking on TEDx or mentoring other people or being the nurturing self of planning the month of financial budgeting and anything. My mother asked me a number of things beforehand. Why don't we learn this? Why don't you do that? But the great cook I became, or how I financially managed during, with scarcity as well, that's all because I had kids. And this kind of greatness would not have come in me by any other way. Okay. So the mother learns unconditional love and she learns patience. She learns to nurture without expecting. And that's what your soul was learning too when, when this person came into your life and also left you behind. Through love that was never returned. So even in the case of, as a mother, I always say that I'm not going to make my sons my retirement policy. No, not at all. Let them live their life. Let them be in love with a woman completely and not think in that sense, oh my God, my mother's going to mind it. Because a lot of mother in laws are, frankly, they are so jealous of their own daughter in laws. I don't want to be that mother in law. No, I'm sorry. I want my son to be happy. I do not wish my sons to break their marriage or to break a relationship because of me. I will sacrifice that. But that sacrifice doesn't just come because, I want to be divine. That sacrifice comes because I love my kids so much. There is that level of love that people need to understand. And this is called love. When you start expecting back, then it becomes a deal. But as a child, if you talk to me as a child, then I think my mother has done a lot for me. Given any opportunity to return, not return is impossible. You can't return to a mother. But given any opportunity to be able to serve my mother, I will definitely catch upon it and see to it that I can make her comfortable and happy. So, of course, I bear different perspectives as a child and as a mother. That's very clear. But I was just trying to explain that, why do meet people who don't stay in your life? One of the major reasons is they came to teach you the lesson of love, maybe to get you to, see within yourself. So, and then, think about the teacher. So, I have been a school teacher for very long. What do school teachers actually get? Frankly, apart from the peanuts in the salary, what do they actually get? They go to the class, then there are parents who have a lot of concerns. What do they basically get out of this job? So think of a teacher, and the teacher gives everything, her time, her energy, her heart also, because uh, a single compliment by a child that, ma'am, I really love studying English from you, or things like that, she receives very little. Uh, so everything, you think about from multiple perspectives. The parents disappoint you. The admin may not be very, good with you. The salary, obviously, beyond doubt, disappoints. You think of, you ask at any teacher at what salary that teacher started. In 5 years, if you put your money in the bank, it will be doubled. Okay. So that way, if you look at a teacher who has worked for like 15 years, then ideally it should be 4 times minimum, no? So double and then 4 times and then maybe 8 times. But ask the teacher if her salary is like that. It's not. So, but what does a teacher really gain? So let's think about it seriously. It cannot be that, teachers are just there for nothing. They gain mastery, they gain confidence, and they gain greatness beyond doubt. And I'm not just talking about myself, I'm just thinking of my teachers now and thinking that, they are so great. They've managed, they know social skills so well. They know they have become nurturers. How could they otherwise get this emotion or, get this particular quality as as a part of their personality? So, the art of teaching shapes a teacher far more than it shapes the students. And I'm like the first one to say that because I have shaped many students, but I've been shaped by the students and by the experiences myself. In the same way, loving someone who didn't love you back taught you how to, love deeply, not just someone else, but even yourself. So it will eventually lead there. It will eventually lead you to, self love. Even if you think about the soldier, think of a soldier, okay? He sacrifices comfort, family, safety, everything. He stands in darkness so that the world can see light. Does he complain? No. Because he chose that path. He chose that path and he stood by that path. He carries pride, not pain, fulfillment, and not resentment, I'm sure. So why should you, the lover, complain? Because, you have chosen those lessons for your life. Okay? You chose, so you also chose to love, right? And that love has made you nobler, stronger, and closer to the divine. Because, if your love was real, and I'm not trying to say I'm not, okay, so at no time I'm trying to say that, oh, with whoever you loved, just forget about anyone else in the world. No, if you can think of someone else, great. You must move ahead in life. But what I'm trying to speak about here is that if that love seems impossible to you, like in the sense that you can think of no one else and stuff like that, let that unconditional love be there. Do not complain. So of lately I've been watching this entire series of Radha and Krishna, and I realized that, we think of Lord Krishna in a number of ways that, he had so many 1600 wives or whatever. But, and he was not a human, by the way. Okay. So lust and all those things didn't exist within him. The idea that whatever happened, it was a part of his karma and he had to, teach love. So first, maybe through attraction and then getting them out of the Maya. Okay. And at the same time, if you really read about them in some place, or if you even watch the series, you'll see that Radha Ma, she was cursed not to remember him for the next 100 years. Something similar happens in the twin flame dynamics. The divine feminine first starts remembering. The divine masculine still doesn't remember the past lives. So the divine feminine has number of lifetimes. Sometimes she might remember in another lifetime when he was my husband, or in another lifetime, he was my, person living beside my house, or whoever. He said this to me, or he, did this for me. And in this lifetime, he doesn't realize, he doesn't remember. So sometimes I wonder, was Lord Krishna actually divine feminine? Or so, but he also suffered that thing, that loss, that the one whom you love is right in front of you, but that person doesn't remember you. How painful can that be? You remember all the lifetimes, you remember everything, but this person doesn't remember you. And why doesn't he remember you? Because probably you have forgotten yourself. You are not in your original energy. Coming to the matrix world, I think a lot of women, we have been conditioned to just shut up and just behave according to the society, the family, the community, whatever is acceptable, unacceptable, go according to that. He will not identify you till the time you identify yourself. So when you grow in power, not in power in the sense that influential power or validation, I'm talking about the spiritual power, getting back closer to the soul, he will automatically start remembering. He may not remember the way you do, but he will remember you eventually. Like, he will have that essence of, she is the one, she is mine, she is my divine counterpart. But maybe in a karmic connection, this may not be the case. So maybe in the karmic connection, this person came back to you. You had some karma to balance, and maybe in a certain lifetime, this person gave you a lot of love that you did not return. And in this lifetime, the same has to be reversed. So you have to see the pain that you've given that person, basically. In either of the conditions, whether you are receiving the pain back, you are being taught about love. Okay. So the idea that, instead of complaining, we have to sometimes take a step back and understand what exactly is happening. Why exactly is this happening? There's a very, very important aspect of this that I really want to talk about, the truth about anger and expectations that we have with the other person. Okay. So anger comes from expectations, right? Why doesn't he love me the way I did? Why didn't he reciprocate and, whatever? So anger comes basically from expectation, and you expected him to stay, to reciprocate, to see you in the way you saw him. But there never was a contract signed between souls saying that, you will love me back. Think about the situation. You fall in love with someone, maybe he led you on. And I'm not trying to say that, oh, he's right in whatever he's doing. I'm not trying to say that. What I'm trying to say is that there was no written pact that if I love you, the depth of love no one could see. Maybe he was just flirting. Or maybe, he was just having a good time while you admired him. Maybe he was the first one to admire you and to begin the chatting or whatever. But there was no written pact that, and there is nowhere that if I love you that much, you also have to love me that much. Just as the mother doesn't put any terms and conditions. So love in its purest form has no TNC, terms and conditions. So let him go. And not because you stopped loving, but because you started understanding. Okay, you started understanding. And I don't know, from the last 1 year or so, I've started realizing the fact, especially I think there's some major changes happen with awakening. So if someone doesn't like me, or I was trying to favor someone and that person doesn't want my favors or doesn't like me back or anything, suddenly it's not like a heartbreak for me, but it is something like, okay, I was trying to give where no one is receiving. So this logic will come when you think on these lines that I'm giving to someone who's not ready to receive. So I can give the phone, no? Take the phone, but this phone will be given only when the other person puts their hand across and takes it. But I'm trying to give love where there's a wall. There is no door inside which it will get. So you need to understand that maybe there were dreams involved, maybe there were fantasies involved, but at the moment, nothing of that sort is being fulfilled. You'll have to understand. Also, the fact, in connection to this, real love should not cage anyone. It's not a prison. Okay. So it only frees you. I know this sounds very big for, especially for people who have just been heartbroken and they're coming back and saying, "Oh my God, this sounds very ideal." But if you go on this path, especially if you're meditating, if you're journaling, your life will change, and definitely your life will start changing if you, whatever is there, why do we feel so sad? Why do we feel so angry, annoyed, heartbroken, abandoned? All these emotions come from the fact that we have bottled up a lot. Okay, there is a lot that it is kept inside. How about talking to someone about it? How about actually writing it down? Because writing it down can like force it out of your heart very quickly. Now, very quickly doesn't happen overnight. Crying when it's required to. So the path out of the pain is actually the path through the pain. You have to go back there and think of everything. Okay, so this is how it happened. This is how it happened. This is how it happened. People say, like women come to me and they say that he cheated upon me. Number of times he had not actually cheated. He was just like that. In the sense that, he just put forward one hand and, someone became over expecting. Or even if he put across one hand to cheat, think about this. How lucky have you been to have discovered this now? Or instead of living with that person and bearing this brunt all throughout your life, isn't it better? So what I'm trying to say is not trying to undermine the pain and the emotion. What I'm trying to say is there is a path that actually takes you towards peace. And and when you let him go, actually, with peace, your soul finally meets itself. So, when you stop this struggle that, oh my God, I can't forget him. And I'm not trying to say that you can't forget him. That means, you're wrong and think that, no, 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 your soul may not, you may not actually be able to forgive him or forget him instantly. But do you want peace in your life? Do you really want to feel loved in your life? Then, in any case, if you want like that, then you have to do something about it. And that is the path that I'm talking about. So, and what is the soul's reward actually in all this? Okay. Maybe he broke your heart, but he also cracked it open, so that the light could enter. Maybe he left you in darkness, but that's how you learn to become your own light. Yeah, so I keep saying that, yeah, maybe he did that to me. He put me in pitch darkness. But if I had not been put into pitch darkness, for light, I would have still depended on others. Okay. I only depended on myself and I had to become the light. Maybe you cried for him, but in that pain, you found maybe poetry, maybe purpose, maybe, some form of art, that you needed to do. And the best thing that you'll find out in this situation is your divine connection. And I truly, truly mean it to the core. Why? Because there was a poem 3, 4 years ago I wrote when I was in deep pain. I wrote that this amount of pain can only be solved by one, and that one is Lord Shiva. So when you know that there are no doors open for you, especially by the one whom you love, then there are no doors except the door of God. You only go and knock there. That door will always be open for you. In fact, the door is always open for you. So the divine connection that you found at that point of time is impossible to find otherwise because, so there is also a poem in English which talks about that, why did God not give rest to us? So it's supposed to be obviously not, not literal, but what it says is that, I will give everything to the human, but I will keep away rest. Why? Because if I give rest to the humans, how will that human come back to me? So rest is kept by God. So if you want rest, you need to go to God. Okay. Maybe a part of the divine plan was to meet him. And in the condition of twin flames, you both are one. So the divine masculine is always a past life. Okay. He is the original character. And as the soul evolved, the divine feminine was also, like the more evolved form came up. So the divine masculine is brought in the life of divine feminine to be able to complete this project with the divine connection, to be able to see through things and be able to accept yourself, love yourself the way you are, to be able to give back to the world, to be able to find your purpose, and so many more things. So basically, you didn't lose love, you know, you became love. You became love. Okay. So, the next time you ask, why did I meet him if he wasn't meant to stay? Remember, he wasn't meant to complete you. He wasn't, he was just there to awaken you. And so the universe doesn't send you lovers, basically. I'd say that, it sends you mirrors. Yeah. It was a mirror only, right? That amount of huge heartbreak that you had because of him. It showed you all those places, where you don't love yourself. Maybe he doesn't come back. Maybe someone else does. Maybe he comes back. Maybe God comes to you. Or maybe God was always there. Now you start looking at God. Some mirrors reflect your beauty, others your wounds. But every reflection, I'd say that is meant to make you a whole. Whole. WHOLE, not HOLE. Love, was never unfair. Love was the teacher. Okay. And you were the student who learned to become divine. With that said, I think I have spoken enough. If there are any questions, if there are any comments, please do make. And if you think that the content of this channel is good enough for you, you loved it, please, hit the like button. and subscribe to my channel, and also share this video with anyone who really needs it or is in a phase of, these kind of conversations and communication. Signing off, Arunimaa. Thank you so much. Namaste.